Hi, my name is Molly Brown. I'm an academic advisor at North Seattle College. Jillian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, and I'm Jillian Fisher, and I'm also an academic advisor at North Seattle College.
And this presentation is about creating your educational plan at North. Um, so today we're going to talk about the steps you need to take to create an education plan and show you some tools that you have access to help you in that and help you create an ed plan. But first, let's just talk about, well, what is an education plan? Because it's a term that we throw around a lot. Well, at the very basic, it is an outline of the classes you plan to take each quarter. But it can be pretty complicated because you need to think about it from the time you begin at North until the time you finish. There are many factors you need to take into consideration. These include degree and program requirements, maybe admission requirements to universities or special programs, and then requirements for your particular major or program of study. Inside that, there may also be sequence requirements or prerequisites. So we'll help you create a plan that includes all of these things and takes into account any things you need to do along the way. At North, we require that students who will earn a degree here create a plan with an advisor by the time you've earned 30 credits. Ed plans are important because of that policy, but also they really make sure that you take the classes you need and avoid taking classes that you don't need. They also show you when you're going to graduate and help you think about any kind of personal timelines or commitments that might affect the choices you make for your classes. So things to think about when you are making your plan. Are you bringing any credits with you to North? Have you completed college credits elsewhere, maybe in high school, even through exams like advanced placement or an international baccalaureate? Have you completed college credits maybe outside the US? What are your major or career goals? What do you want to get out of this? Where do you want to end up? And also, maybe there are particular schools you want to go to or companies where you want to work, and so there might be particular courses to help you reach those goals. So factoring in all of those things, all the requirements, what you're bringing with you, where you want to go, those are all the components that go into creating an education plan. One note, I don't think we have any here today, but Running Start students are students who attend community college while they're still in high school. They do not have to meet that requirement of completing a plan once they reach 30 college credits. But if you are a Running Start student and plan to take a lot of credits, it can be really helpful. And they are required for Running Start students if you are pursuing an associate degree. So talk to your Running Start advisor if that applies to you. All right, I'm going to turn things over to Jillian, who's going to talk about some other pieces.
Great, thanks, Molly. So in advising, we've identified 3 steps to help you make a really solid education plan. And the first step is to know your goals, because everybody has different either academic or career goals that they're going for. And it's really important to understand what your longer term goals are so that you can take the appropriate classes at North that are going to prepare you for what your plans are down the road. So first off, you really want to think about what your plans are and what your goals are. And Molly can go to the next. And then once you know what your longer term goals and plans are, then you need to understand what you need for whatever program you're working at North. And when we talk about a program, we're talking about your degree or certificate that you plan to complete at North, or maybe you're not planning to complete a full certificate or degree, but you're working on prerequisites for another program. At North, we break up all of our programs into what we call areas of study. And so those are just general common categories where there's a lot of different programs within those areas of study. So for example, we have one area of study that's business and accounting, but within that, there's a lot of choices of different certificates or degrees you could work on. At North, we break up our programs into two types. One is called transfer and one is called career training. So for our transfer degrees or programs, these are for students that are intending to eventually transfer to a university to continue on with their education, maybe to get a bachelor's degree or even further with a master's and so on. At North, we offer a variety of transfer degrees, and they're not all the same. So it's really important that if you are planning to transfer to university, if you have an idea of what you want to study at the university, that would determine which type of degree, transfer degree, you're working at North Seattle College. So we offer the Associate of Arts degree, which is the AA. That's the one that people have usually heard of the most regularly. It's kind of the most common named one. And that could mean drawing and painting types of art, but it doesn't need to mean that. It means art in the broader sense, so liberal arts. So this is really for students that want to transfer to university and study something that's arts and humanities or social science type of program. So maybe communications or English or social sociology or history, political science, something along those lines. We do offer 3 different Associate of Science degrees for students that want to go to the university to study something within the STEM field, which is science, technology, engineering, or math. We have the General Associate of Science degree, the Associate of Science Option 1, and the Associate of Science Option 2. And sometimes the science degrees are a little bit tricky, so it's really important to talk with an advisor about which is the one that's the best fit for you, because it really depends on what you want to study at the university. The general science degree, typically for majors that don't include a ton of math and science prerequisites, really common for students that are thinking about studying a math major, maybe biology, very common for our students that want to go a Bachelor of Science in Nursing route. Option 1 and Option 2 are less flexible degrees because we include a lot of the university prerequisites within those degrees. So Option 1 is common for students that want to study something like chemistry, maybe biochemistry or geological sciences. And Option 2 is common for students that are thinking about studying any kind of engineering, computer science, or maybe physics. For students that are interested in studying something related to business or accounting, we have an Associate of Business degree. And then we also offer an Associate of Fine Arts degree. And this is the drawing painting one. So this is the one for students that are interested in becoming an artist and going either to an art school or maybe a very specific studio art program at a university. Okay. Thanks, Molly. And then I mentioned we also have career training programs. So these are programs, either certificates or degrees for students that are not planning necessarily to transfer to a university, but are thinking about getting training in a specific career or field. So sometimes people also call these professional, technical, or vocational. It all kind of means the same thing. For these programs, we have a ton of different options within different categories, and there's also a variety of certificates or degrees that a student could earn. We have an Associate of Applied Science, or AAS. And the AAS for Applied Science means that these career training programs are very hands-on. You learn a lot by doing. They often include labs and internships because you're learning a particular career. These programs are also very focused. So if you're doing an Associate of Applied Science in real estate, you're not necessarily having to take a lot of like history or art or science classes. You're taking classes that teach you how to be a real estate agent and sell houses. So they're very focused to that career. Some of our career training programs also offer an Associate of Applied Science Transfer, or AAST degree. And this can be a little confusing because this does not mean a transfer degree to the university. These degrees are generally set up to transfer to a Bachelor's of Applied Science program, either at North or at another community college. And then also within our career training programs, we offer certificates. Certificates are short-term programs. They range from 1 quarter to multiple quarters. It just depends on the certificate. And some students are just trying to earn a certificate because that's all they need for a specific job they want. Some students are earning 1 or more certificates within their Associate of Applied Science degree. Again, there's a lot of options for these, so we really recommend that you meet with an advisor to find the one that best meets your longer-term career goals. We also know that we have a lot of students that are undecided and they're not sure exactly what they want to do right yet, which is fine. Some of the things that we offer to help support those students and help them narrow down their plans is we do have a specialized advisor that works specifically with undecided students. We have really wonderful career counseling services where they can work with students individually to help you identify what's a good path for you. Additionally, our career counselors teach a class called HDC 100, which is a 2-credit career planning class. That class is offered every quarter except summer. So if you like a more formalized way to explore your path and what's a good option for you, this is a great class. Additionally, it's not on this list, but sometimes it's really helpful to just take a class in the subject area that you think you might be interested to see if you do in fact like that or not. And then as Molly mentioned earlier, we encourage students to decide by 30 credits so that we can start really working on your ed plan and you can avoid taking a bunch of classes that aren't going to meet your goals. So we already heard from our participants what programs they're interested in right now. So it's great you both have a good idea of what you're thinking about. So we'll just go forward from here.
Okay, so it's turning back over to me. So once you know what degree or certificate you want to pursue, you need to dig a little deeper and figure out what are the specific requirements that you need to reach that goal. So whether you're thinking of transferring or pursuing a career training program, there are a few sets of requirements to consider. For transfer students, you need to think about your degree requirements at North, requirements to get into the university you want to attend, and in addition, there are specific requirements for your major. So for instance, nursing has some specific requirements, but you also have to figure out, well, what are the things you need to do first to get into the university? And before that, what are the things you need to do to fulfill the degree requirements? For example, if you're applying to the University of Washington, you have to make sure you meet their foreign language admission requirements with either high school or college coursework. And because North's transfer degrees don't require foreign language, you need to incorporate those into your plan. For major requirements, I mentioned nursing. You want to make sure you take those specific prerequisite courses like biology, chemistry, psychology. Ideally, an ed plan hits the sweet spot here with that, where that star is, so that you are the most efficient you can be and get as many of those requirements to overlap as possible. So those foreign language requirements, they might be like arts and humanities requirements. Those major requirements might be science requirements for the associate degree, and also help meet university requirements for admission. For career training students, the same concept applies. You want to see how you can get those things to overlap as much as possible so you make your time at North count. And you might need to think about the sequence in which you take your classes. So one early childhood class leading to another, And those classes might only be offered at certain times of the year. So again, working with an advisor who knows your program can help you figure out, well, when do you need to start that sequence? When do you need to be prepared maybe with the prerequisites for that sequence? And in addition, you might need to plan to complete internship requirements that will take you off campus. And so that might also influence your choices of classes during those terms. When your education plan is complete, it will include all the classes you need to meet your educational goals. We've mentioned course sequences and prerequisites, so I want to spend a minute talking about what that means. The definition of prerequisite is a thing that's required as a prior condition for something else. So a lot of students often talk about, oh, I'm here at North taking my prereqs. And I want to make sure that we use that term for is the class that you need to take before you can take another class or enter a certain major. So for example, English 101 is a really common prerequisite for other classes, but it can be used in different ways. It is a prerequisite for both Nutrition 101 and English 102. It's also a prerequisite for History 214. This is where the faculty have decided that students have to have the course content in English 101 before they can be successful in that next class. So for Nutrition and English 102, there's no specific grade required, but for History, the faculty there decided we want students to have a minimum 2.0 grade in English 101 before they can enter this class. Similarly, for psychology, you need to take English 101 before you can take Psychology 100, and then Psychology 200 builds on that. So this gets into some of the sequencing. First, you need to take English 101 before you can take Psychology 100, before you can take Psychology 200. Now, one note here, we assume success. So when you're registering for classes, the registration system checks to see if you've already completed or are currently enrolled in the class you want to take next. So even if you haven't completed it, you can go ahead and register as long as you are registered for that class. You can find prerequisite information in the class schedule. So maybe you've seen this in MyNorth under the class listings. So some examples here. Communication 101 has a prerequisite of placement into English 101. And so this is another example of how prerequisites can sometimes be different. You don't have to even be enrolled in English 101, but you need to have placement into it, usually via our placement test. Whereas Psychology 100 that I mentioned before, you have to be taking or have completed English 101 in order to register for Psychology 100 in a future quarter. And then something like Anatomy and Physiology gets even more complicated. This has 2 specific course prerequisites, each with a 2.0 or better. And then if you dug deeper, you'd find that Chemistry 121 has a math prerequisite. So it's important to look into those specific things so that you can plan things in the sequence that you need. Sequences can get really even more specific for math, science, engineering majors. So make sure to talk to your advisor. This is where an education plan can be really helpful. So we've gone over the 3 steps. Know your goals, so that's picking where you want to go major career-wise, figure out which program at North fits those goals, and then dig deeper and figure out your requirements. So now I'm going to turn things back over to Jillian, and she is going to show you some tools that we have in MyNorth and other places on our website to help you start making that plan.
Great, thanks, Molly. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen. So what I want to show you is as Molly mentioned, some of the tools online that we have for students to start working on their education plan. So I'm just at our homepage right now, and from the homepage, I'm just going to go here to the quick links and go to class schedule. And this is going to take me to what we call MyNorth. Typically, students spend a lot of time in MyNorth looking for classes and adding and dropping classes. Right now, what I'm going to show you is where you can start working on the tools you need to make your ed plan. So what you're going to do is first you log in. You go to student sign in. I'm signing in as a fake student, but when you sign in as yourself, you're going to put in your SID, which is your student ID. That is the 9-digit number you should have received when you applied to be a student at North. And then your PIN. Your PIN is initially set to be your 6-digit birthday. So it's set to be month, day, last 2 only of the year you were born. You're welcome to change your PIN later. If you do, just make sure it's something you remember. So we are logged in now as Snow White, and we go here to where it says MyNorth. And in here, there's a lot of different things that you can do, but today we're going to focus on degree audit and ed plan. So before you can start working on your ed plan, it's important to run a degree audit. A degree audit lists what you specifically need for whatever certificate or degree you're working on, what you have already completed, what you have in progress, so that you have a really good understanding of your program requirements. So if you click on degree audit, it's going to take you to a page again to log in. You're going to use your exact same student ID, SID number, and your same PIN that you just used to log in to MyNorth. So you'll log in again. And once you get to degree audit, you'll see up here this drop-down menu where you need to select a specific certificate or degree that you're working on. As you can see, these are all of the certificates and degrees, it keeps going, that we offer at North. So there's quite a lot. You need to pick the one that you are specifically working on. One way, just so you know how this is organized, the transfer degrees are at the top. Then we have our Bachelor's of Applied Science degrees, and then all of our career training programs underneath alphabetically. For today's demonstration, I'm going to just pick the General Associate of Arts degree. So you click on the degree or certificate you're working on, and you click on Run Audit. And it takes a second because it needs to process everything of what you have already completed. So when you get to degree audit, you'll notice some things at the top. First, you're going to see how many credits are required for whatever certificate or degree you're working on. So for this degree, it's 90 credits total. It'll tell you how many credits you've already completed or have in progress. So this fake student has 44.5. And you'll see here where it says GPA required 2.0. To graduate from North with any certificate or degree, you must have at least a cumulative 2.0 college level GPA. You'll also see a current GPA up here, but this is not your cumulative average GPA. To find that, you need to go down to the bottom in this box. This fake student doesn't have any real grades, so it's 0, but this is where you're going to find your college level cumulative GPA. So if we go back up to the top, the first important thing when you're looking at a degree audit is to hit this Expand All button. And this is going to tell you what classes are required or credits for that particular degree. You will notice over here, sometimes it says credits required. So this requires 10 credits for English composition. Sometimes it'll say the number of courses that are required. So you want to read that carefully so you know if you're looking for a number of credits or a number of courses. Additionally, with the degrees and certificates, there are some classes you have to take and you have no options. You just must take those classes. And some classes you'll have a variety that you can choose from. So for example, for this English composition requirement, we see 10 credits are required. If we click this little box, we'll see that this means I must take English 101 and English 102. Each class is 5 credits. It gets me the 10 credits. I don't have choice of other classes for this requirement. It must be English 101 and 102. But again, some classes you'll have a lot of choice. So for example, this section, Individuals, Cultures, and Societies, it requires 15 credits. This fake student has completed 4.5. If I want to see what my other options are to fulfill the remaining required credits, if I click this, I see a long list of classes here. So that means I can choose any of these classes to fulfill that requirement. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to run your degree audit for your certificate or degree so you know exactly what's required, what you've already completed or have in progress, and then what you still need. Because I will go back to MyNorth. We were looking at degree audit. Now we're going to look at EdPlan. So for example, once you know what you need and what you've already done and what you still need, you can start creating your education plan. And this is where, as Molly mentioned at the beginning, it's just an outline of what classes you plan to take each quarter. So this is just a sample, a fake one for this student. But for example, we have this student taking English 101 in the fall, Math 98 in fall, and Art 111, which is drawing. And so maybe that's what they're currently taking. And with the plan, we want to think about what are you going to take in future quarters. So for example, for things like math or other classes that build upon themselves, such as world languages, maybe science sequences or accounting sequences, It's really important to try to take those all in a row if possible so that you don't have a break in your learning. So let's say, for example, we knew this student was taking Math 98 and they wanted to move to pre-calculus for their next math class. So we want to add that for winter. If you want to add a class, you just click on the plus sign. You start typing in the subject and you find the number of the class. So Math 141 is our pre-calculus 1. And you click that and you say add course, and now we can see that in there. You can add more than one course at a time. If you want to move classes around, you can do that. Say, for example, this person had in their public speaking in spring quarter, but they really wanted to take it in winter. We click that, select a new quarter, and say winter, and update course, and now you see that it moved over to this section. Maybe you decide, I don't actually ever want to take this public speaking class, and I just want to delete it from my ed plan. You click it, you say delete course, and it takes it out. Okay, so this is how you can start creating your education plan. You can move things around so that you get a good visual of when you think you're going to take the certain classes you need. It helps to make sure then you build in your prerequisites. And then also, as Molly said, it helps you to know when you plan to be finished with your certificate or degree. So then you know when you need to work on either university applications if you're planning to transfer, or job applications if you're going into the career field. You have a couple choices. Some students choose to start working on their ed plan and come up with a draft and then meet with an advisor to have it approved, which is great. Some students prefer to just meet with an advisor from the initial planning and do that work together. Either one is fine, it's whatever you prefer. And I know that we've talked a lot about the important reasons for why you should meet with an advisor, and I want to show you one more tool where you can schedule an advising appointment. So again, I'm going to click on this My North button, and we see a tab down here for Starfish. Starfish is a tool that allows you to schedule an advising appointment online so that you can find a time that works best for you to meet with your advisor. This time, the username and password is not the same as your My North account. This is the same as your My Seattle Colleges login. This is the same information you would use to log into campus computers, in the computer lab and things like that. If you haven't set up your My Seattle Colleges account, there's a link here to do that first. You need to do that first. So here we will again, sign in as Snow White, our fake student. And you get logged in. You're first going to get to this page, and as Molly said before, we assign students to an advisor based off what program they're planning to work on. So this fake student is connected to me, just as an example. The first thing you want to do when you first log into your Starfish account is go up to this menu at the top and click on the arrow for your name and go to your profile. What we recommend that you do is all notifications and emails through Starfish are automatically going to go to your seattlecolleges.edu email. If that's not an email that you check regularly, we recommend that you add your own, if it's your personal email, your Gmail or Hotmail or Yahoo, whatever, and then you need to click this button that says also send notifications to my alternate email address, and then you need to scroll down and hit submit down at the bottom so it saves that. I'm going to go back out to what we call my Success Network. And again, this is going to show your advisor. It'll show your instructors for when you're registered for classes and any other services, specific people that you're connected to, or just other services that are available if you want information. So to schedule an appointment with your advisor, you will click on these three dots. You can view their profile, you can send them an email, or you can go to schedule. When you go to schedule, it's going to ask you, what do you need help with? So you can click this and say, I want to create a new education plan, or whatever the issue is that you want to talk about. So you click that and you say continue. You will see times that that advisor is available. If you're like, oh, I don't really want to meet this week, I want to meet, you know, in sometime in June, it'll show you the times. You can select a time, say continue. And right now it's going to ask you to choose a location. So currently our options are Zoom or a phone appointment. So you can pick which one you would like to do. And if you want to write a little note to your advisor, that really helps us to know specific questions or things you want to discuss. And you can say confirm, and then it is going to tell you, great, here is your next advising appointment, and here is how to get into that and any things that we want you to make sure that you do. So that's how you can schedule an appointment with an advisor to work on your ed plan. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. And I think this would be a great time for questions. So if any of the students here have any questions, we'd love to answer those.